This is BF News. I'm Remington Hernandez. For our first edition as Bold Future News, it's been a pleasure delivering to you AC News for all of these months, but now, a bold future, if you might say. Today we will be interviewing a man who has a very interesting worldview and how he wants to change society as a whole. He is Tony Geren. Tony, thank you for joining us on this first edition and being our first interviewee. How you doing?
Thank you, Remington. I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. So the Free Communities Movement is what you're with. Tell us about that. How did you get that started?
Basically, what we're trying to do is we're trying to connect with groups in cities across the country that are trying to create autonomous networks within the city so that people can band together to live autonomously outside the system. And through these spaces, we want to connect with those groups, and through these spaces, we want to connect with how to be living in a freer way, how to take the reins ourselves and learn how to create our own ways of living.
Why did you want to start it though? What compelled you to do this?
Well, I think understanding like the state of the world as it is today, it's a very chaotic time, and I think people are losing more and more trust in their governments. They're losing more and more trust in their elected officials that they're trusting to, kind of steer the society in a good direction. And I think the people have forgotten that they have the power to basically run their own lives. But we see that centralized authority has gained more and more power to be able to basically tell the people what to do and not actually provide for the people.
I understand that. And let's head over from government, because I'm pretty sure all of us who are watching this or doing this right now, we aren't very fond of the government, so we all can agree there. But your organization says that corporations are hurting humanity. Tell us why that is, and I'm sure many people would disagree that are watching right now, but why are corporations hurting humanity?
Well, I think it's the endless pursuit of profit over the benefit of the goods or services. I think that is a big problem in our corporate system, and in fact that there's 80% of the food that is being sold is GMO, and there's a lot of chemicals that are involved in that process, and it's getting harder and harder to get good natural foods that actually benefit people, that benefit our bodies, and instill natural ways of living. Um, there's monopolies on the food system, on the media, which kind of shows us what is going on, and just the news as it is today. I think I think the over monopolization of those companies is really taking away from the free choice of the people.
What about, like, let's say, a small company that owns maybe 4 businesses and 3 different towns? How do you feel about that? Like, sort of small scale capitalism. And
I think if it's in congruence um, with the people, and they're acting responsibly and within sustainability measures that reflect uh, the way of nature and reflect the way of humans, how they should be provided for, then I think that's all well and good. But the problem with these over monopolized um, companies, these large companies, is that it's largely in pursuit of profit only, and the people are being lied to about what they're actually getting. Um, and I think that's a big part of the problem of the monopolization of these companies.
And many people who are watching are anarcho-capitalists. That is one of our biggest pulls, because that's sort of how we lean. But a lot of them would disagree with your assumption that corporations are inherently bad on a larger scale. What would you have to say to them?
Well, I wouldn't say that corporations are inherently bad. I think the pursuit to have a business is not wrong at all. Um, I would say that the practices of corporations as it is today in the structure of the system that we have, it's all about numbers, and it's all about financial gain. And if we can if we can have a balance um, between the pursuit of wealth, of creation of wealth, and have a balance with that, with instilling positivity to the people and giving people good services and good products, then we can actually, you know, have a healthy um, relationship with these kind of companies. But the problem is it's all profit, and the goods and services are at an all time low.
I see what you mean. So you don't necessarily believe that capitalism in itself is a bad idea.
Absolutely not.
Okay. I mean, what does your organization and what do you personally envision going forward that y'all will do in order to make your worldview a reality?
Well, basically, what we're trying to implement is counter economics. The ideas of agorism, which agorism is pretty much the ideas of self reliance in action. So, uh, an example would be, say you mow your friend's lawn for $20. There needs to be no, you know, implementation of the government in that kind of action. We can form that kind of interaction ourselves, and if we can create counter institutions, you know, counter spaces outside of the system that provide for one another and that are for mutual cooperation, then we can start to see a society that actually is in congruence with nature, is in congruence with what we, you know, hold most dear, which is love, positivity, and, you know, good relationships.
I also read on your page, which is the Free Communities Project, and I'll link it in the video description. But you also said there that you don't believe in a currency. Is that just a government-controlled currency, or is it all currencies together, like Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies?
Well, I think the problem with the currency that we currently have is it's based on debt, and we're going through like the banking industry, which is causing a lot of the destruction that we're seeing in the environment today, in the wars that we're seeing across, you know, the Middle East. It has a lot to do with the banking industry, um, which is tearing this world apart. And so, if we can get outside of that currency that is doing those things, I don't think that all currency is wrong, but um, I think the base way of exchange should be trading, should be, you know, kind of bartering, like trading what we have and what we need so that we can provide for one another, and it's not um, a gift economy in a way. So it's not just, you know, you give something to somebody, and somebody like pays you like this money that's just like backed by nothing, you know, that doesn't have any real value. And what happens when we do that is we value the currency instead of the actual act of giving.
I see what you mean there. I, you describe yourself as a musician, community organizer, and you think that you want true liberty instead of just this faux kind of liberty that governments give us.
Actually, yes. Where we are in Grand Rapids, we're building a network within the city to be able to teach people how to garden, how to grow their own food, how to can their own vegetables, how to. We're basically creating spaces for either, you know, artists, poets, these people that don't want to be a part of this system anymore, giving them the opportunity to learn about these ideas, to implement ways of self-reliance, to be able to do the things themselves that we've kind of just relied corporations and the government to be able to do for us. And we know that system is breaking right now, and that's why we feel that this is very important. But within our community of Grand Rapids, we have a organization called GRAS, Grand Rapids Autonomous Support System. Basically, what we're doing is we're just becoming a support system for the people that want to do this, that want to be living autonomously outside the system, and we're giving people the tools to be able to do that.
Okay, thank you. One of the final questions I have is, in this society, you yourself are not a violent person, but in every society there will be violent people, maybe one-time offenders, maybe offenders that have many offenses under their wing. But there's always been this debate of how a military would work, how a police force, so to say, would work. In your idea, how would that work?
Well, I think you would have to break it down to the fact that non-aggression is the core value of our society. I mean, it's abundantly obvious that that's our functioning way of doing things on a regular basis. I think for most people, I mean, you don't go around and um, if you're in a line for a hot dog stand, you don't aggressively push your way to the front of the line because you want your way to go. That's obviously not going to work. We have to be in cooperation with each other. But if it comes a time uh, when people are when some if it's an individual that wants to use violence to enforce their ideas, then we have a problem, obviously. And the way that we deal with that problem is through nonviolence. There's plenty of ways to get this done, but there's a lot of the things. The way it comes down to is violence cannot be reciprocated by violence. It is a natural law that has forever been known. You cannot use the same force to distinguish the force that's been given. And so we believe if we can foster ways of healing the a situation where somebody wants to be violent, then we will go that way instead of using violence to punish the action.
I see what you mean. And you explained to me earlier about how it's dealt with more. It's more of a probation system. It's more of an inclusive sort of. We want to help you. It's more of a rehabilitation movement rather than a punishment movement.
Yeah, I think that's the problem with our society is that we jail people for petty offenses. We jail people for, I mean, even if you've committed a violent act, um, sometimes you're jailed for life. And I don't think that's the way to deal with people that have that have made mistakes in their life. I think everybody has the capacity to be violent, especially in our society that is overrun by large amounts of drugs that people are on all the time. It's very it's very easy to engage in an altercation with somebody. And I think if that so happens, I don't think it should be where you have to be jailed for the rest of your life because you made a mistake. I think there should be a process of healing, um, and it's obvious that if somebody makes a mistake like that, they need healing and they need um, to understand why they've done what they've done and how they can cope with that, um, and move forward and become a better person because of it.
Okay, thank you, Tony. How can people learn more about your movement, and how can they get involved?
Well, the Free Communities Movement does not have a website, but it is on Facebook. You can look it up, Free Communities Movement, and also the local group that we have in Grand Rapids. If you're looking to get a hold of us, we are on Facebook as well. It's the Grand Rapids Autonomous Support System.
And both of those will be linked in the description. Thank you, Tony, for being our first interviewee, and I hope we'll talk again sometime. I might bring you on in the future. So thanks for joining us, and thank all of you for joining us here on BF News. I have been Remington Hernandez. For more information, you can always like our Facebook page, facebook.com/boldfuturenews, Twitter as well, twitter.com/boldfuturenews. I'll see you next time. This has been BF News.